Will you please join me in welcoming to the stage, and by the way, I am pronouncing this right, so from the Kinks, Davies, and from Foghat, Earl.
It's not working.
Have a seat, relax.
1, 2, hello.
There we go.
Hello guys. Hello Roger.
I know this is very early
A bit early in the morning for me.
for musicians, especially.
My brain thinks I'm still in bed, so you have to excuse me if I have wild dreams.
Especially Dave, you performed last night, and Roger, you performed yesterday, and you're performing again today, and you were performing again today, so I appreciate
They working hard here, I tell you.
Yeah.
taking the time to
Can't
do
you
this.
see us sweating?
So, both of these gentlemen are from London. They're less than a year apart in age. Somewhere along the way, that paths probably crossed, although they don't remember it, and it's not, they don't remember it because of any, third-party substances or anything like that. Just life was very busy. Set the scene for us, if you will, what it was like. Us as Americans, I think that's one of the reasons why we have come to embrace England so much, was because of the music we sent to you that you sold back to us. So we bought into it in more ways than one. What was it like for you guys starting out in London in the, late 50s, early 60s?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Well, I grew up in southwest London in a place called Hounslow, and I remember once I came home from school. I used to ride my bike home from school. I was about 10 or 11, and my father used to work in Feltham. He used to work at the Aston Martin place there, and so there were always these exotic cars. He'd ride them home from for lunch. He was a panel fitter, so he had to make sure they didn't rattle. But he played piano, and one day he brought home this disc of Jerry Lee Lewis. I think it was Great Balls of Fire. It might have been one of his others, and the other side was Mean Woman Blues. And he sent to London, Dad. He said, "Here, son, have a listen to this guy. He can really play the Joanna." That's like a term for piano. And we were never the same after that. My mother said, "I think it addled his brain." that was my introduction to music. There was always music in my house. My father played piano. My older brother, Colin, played in a band called Mungo Jerry. Music. Without music, life would be a mistake, wouldn't it?
I think so. I can't remember much about growing up. Now, I had a wonderful growing up. I come from North London, not far from where Roger Manor was. And it's funny you mentioned Jerry Lee, because he really had a big influence on a lot of young English musicians, even though we wanted to play guitar and stuff, and Roger drums, but...
Bang, bang.
Bang, bang. And Jerry Lee was a really prominent artist at the time, but of course Little Richard was a big, big, big influence, because his band, I wish we could play DJ, but we can't. I always say that I can't remember the name of the record. One of his first hits. Can't see if you can remember any hits from Little Richard.
Tutti Frutti, Dizzy Miss Lizzie.
What? Early.
Tutti Frutti was pretty early.
Yeah. He had a great drummer.
You do the talk.
Be quick, honestly. And I always thought it was Long Tall Sally. And no, it wasn't. Lucille! Lucille, if you play that record when you can, it's got the best rock backbeat in any record at that time. And I used to argue with my brother, Raymond, because he liked the backbeat on It's So Easy by Buddy Holly. So play both of them and you'll see why we got hooked into this music, because it wasn't just, of course it was the guitars and Little Richard's great voice and all the newness coming from America. Yeah, we were listening to American music.
That's what I mean.
Nonny Donegan, maybe.
What did we have in England? Hey Nonny Nonny?
There was a lot of weird stuff. But we had a guy, an English skiffle come trad jazz player who had some records out called Ronnie Donegan.
All right, yeah.
And he really introduced English musicians to people like Leadbelly, which we'd never have heard about if it hadn't been for him. And influences, so many great.
Yeah, I mean, I think all contemporary music, even today's like rap singers and stuff, everything comes from the States, music-wise. I know you might think it's otherwise, but it's not true. Jazz, blues, big band music,
not quite
gospel,
everything.
country.
Yeah, but the thing is, we had a folk genre in England that goes back to Celtic music.
Right.
So there's a kind of... So when the immigrants came to America, who settled in the South, and that's when it became country.
Yeah, a lot of the melodies.
So country is a mixture of blues and
right.
Celtic music.
Yeah, like folk music, the melodies like influence a lot of country and western music.
Oh, yeah.
You know, from like Scotland, Wales, Ireland, France,
absolutely,
even.
yeah.
About German music.
Deutsch,
Sorry, all is forgiven.
I have to say, and I'm sure the guys won't mind because they're really sweet guys, it was a German band, one of Kinks' first tour in Germany. And of course you know the Beatles haircut, right? Everybody had to have a Beatles haircut, except me, except some of us. And what was weird, we toured with this band called The Lords, and they were trying to do a German Beatles way. And they had Beatles haircuts, but don't know if you remember the German helmet. I'm not going to talk about the war, don't worry about it. But they had Beatles haircuts and they just like that. But they were good. We had a lot of fun. And Germany was pretty important. Hamburg had night clubs, good clubs.
I only went there once. I was in a band called Savoy Brown in like.
I love that band.
That's where I cut my teeth on that one. But we went to Germany a couple of times, and we did a couple of shows with Deep Purple. What a great band! Whoa! In fact, I played with Deep Purple about 2 years ago. They were still really just great. And for some reason, the crowd was upset, and they didn't do it to us. There was another band on. They started throwing tomatoes and green peppers. I thought that was quite original.
Maybe it was a sign of appreciation.
Yeah, right, they're throwing real food.
But so now you mentioned that your dad got you the Jerry Lee Lewis album because the radio wasn't playing this music. So was it strictly going into record shops and then word of mouth is how you guys all...
Well, I don't know about Roger, he's probably got his own story, but I had a sister who lived in Canada, and she used to send, when she used to come over, she used to bring like Chuck Berry and records, which she'd never heard of before.
Yeah.
And you know, I swear if it hadn't been for Chuck Berry and Eddie Cochran, I would have never picked up a guitar. Maybe you should. But no, they were big influences on me.
And What was it? Was there one particular song that all of a sudden the guitar just rang true in your mind, or did you see it in a guitar shop window like so many of the artists from England seem to always say?
Sweet Little 16. There's something strange going on with that record. When we first heard it, you can hear the music coming through the walls of the studio next door. And if you listen to it carefully, you can hear violins from another session. And that kind of really poked me up. There's this great, gritty record going on with this wild guy singing and a strange orchestral thing going in the background. That was a great record. That's kicked off thing big time for me.
Actually, without Chuck Berry, I think there'd be no real rock and roll, right?
He was really, he had everything. That's why I liked Eddie Cochran and Chuck Berry. They both had great guitar players, ahead of the game, great voices. You listen to Eddie Cochran's voice, it's...
Great guitar player.
Oh, he was ahead of the game as well. So we had these fabulous influences. And in England, there wasn't anyone really... There was a guy called Bert Whedon, never heard of him, have you?
Sorry about that.
But although we thought he was corny, he actually kicked off a lot of ideas, sort of the guitar boogie things.
Yeah, it was kind of, it was jazz, more of a jazz player,
Yeah,
wasn't
but
it?
he was kind of an innovator in his own kind of way.
Yeah.
I'd say.
We won't talk about Bert.
It's all right. Someone's got to.
Somebody's got to, right?
And then Roger, for you, the drums, what led you to them? Because, you know, obviously Jerry Lee is a piano player, but there was something in the sound. Was it his sound? Was it the drummer in his band that got to you?
Yeah, actually, I saw Jerry Lee the second time he came over to England, and he brought his original drummer over. And I'm listening to... I started playing piano when I first started, but... You know, I was like, my older brother's 4 years older than me, and my dad played piano, so I wasn't really getting a look in. And there were keys that were involved, you know, A, B, C, all that sort of stuff. And I said, nah. Actually, a piano is a percussive instrument, but the drummer that played on Jerry Lee Lewis's records and Chuck Berry's records, that's what really got me. I wanted to play drums. I was always banging on stuff. And I used to pick up knives and forks at the table, and I bang all over the place.
Shoeboxes.
And Mum would say, "He's ruined all my good china. He's broke the lampshade." I love my mum.
But it's amazing. It's funny you should talk that the rhythmical content of a lot of those records were great. I mean, Little Richard, as I mentioned, and also Jerry Lee, it was so rhythmical. It was like when you want to dance. And that's interesting, I heard.
Just the name.
I hope that was a dance and not an expression of all this. But it's like Lee Van Helm, the band, evidently said, when someone asked him about his drumming, he evidently said, when I play, I dance with the drums. And I think that's the secret. If it makes you want to swing or dance, that's how you get good backbeat, I think.
Okay, and so now we've established guitar, drums. When did it get to the point that you knew this is what you wanted to do for your life's journey? When did that moment come? Do you remember?
You go first.
Yeah, well, I don't think I even thought about it for a minute. I mean, I learnt 5 chords, so I thought I was a cocky kid, and I thought I knew it all. I said, I've done it, I play guitar now. But I think it's interesting. I always had a good sense of syncopation, and from listening to all those great jazz guitar players, Tower Farlow and Barney Castle, because we didn't really use syncopation before the 60s or before jazz anyway. And I think that helped the sense of rhythm. So I had a good sense of rhythm, 5 chords, and I knew it all. And I thought, oh, I want to do what Eddie Cochran does. And I would sing like him, play like him. But of course that's how you learn your own style, is by copying other people, badly sometimes. But that's part of the learning curve, and I first learned about improvisation by trying to copy people like the Ventures and Chuck Berry, and copying it badly, and it sounded like something else. I realised it was improvisation. So sometimes it's handy not having a very good memory.
My first job, I was a commercial artist for the first 5 years of my, from like 15 to 20. You had to earn money to, buy drums and cymbals were very expensive, and of course you wanted the best. But it was music. It just takes you. Without music, I think life would be a mistake. But I didn't want to sit behind a desk, drawing black and white straight lines and doing stuff for printers. The only thing I wanted to do was play in a rock and roll band. I was real fortunate right from the beginning. I played with some great musicians. I went to school with Ray Dorset, who was the lead singer in Mungo Jerry, and a few other friends from school. So I was playing since I was about 15 years old. First band I joined, I was like 17, but that was all I ever wanted to do. The day job was an excuse just to sort of be able to buy cymbals. But when I first joined Savoy Brown, I think I was 20. Now, we did this audition in a pub called the Nag's Head in Wandsworth, I think it was, southwest South London.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was the second time round they called me back. And I went there, I borrowed my dad's car and took the drums up the stairs and played. We played for about 2 hours or so. I started packing the drums up and taking them down the stairs, and our road manager said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going back to work. I have a day job." They said, "No, we're playing in Birmingham tonight." And that was my introduction. For about 6 weeks after that, I'd be playing like 3 or 4 days a week. Coming back from Newcastle, I get back, to London about 6 in the morning. I'd sort of drink some milk and then fall asleep and be late for work. They were very kind, but eventually I had to give up my day job. Now I was earning 150 quid or more. I mean, really good money.
That's clearly luxury.
That was luxury. But I gave it all up to earn £12.50p a week.
It's funny you mentioned Birmingham, Roger, because when the Kinks first started going on the road, we didn't know what we were doing really, And you mentioned Birmingham, and there used to be a club circuit in Birmingham that used to play 2 shows a night, right? And after one show, I was ready to go out the pub and find whatever young ladies might be in the audience. I remember the first weekend we played in north of Birmingham, somewhere at Solly Hall or somewhere. And we come off stage, had a few drinks, and oh no, we got to go and play somewhere else. Oh, we slapped all over for this late gig. And I was so out of it by the time we got to this second show. And I got on stage and actually just went wallop, crash on my face. So it was a learning curve, realising it was hard work. It wasn't all partying, although I tried to make it one big long party the first few years, but thinking it wouldn't really last. I didn't think it would last a year, the whole thing. And it kept hanging in there,
55, 6, 7 years later, here we are.
Don't you realise it's a job?
From the front room, Dave, with your sisters and everybody around the piano, to a cruise ship in the Gulf of Mexico, or Caribbean Sea, wherever we're at. but a great ride in between
Yeah, I mean,
for both of you. For
oh
both.
yeah, I mean, I come from a big family, a big working class family, because of my older brother. Older brother? He's 3 years older than me, but then we have 6 sisters that are like
Older than Ray,
older
right?
than Ray,
Yeah.
beyond. And they all had their personal favourites, and they all played piano. My dad played banjo, and at the weekends, because we didn't have cable TV or the internet or anything like that, so we used to make our own entertainment. So we'd get a few beers from the pub, and my dad would start plonking out something like the banjo, and my sisters playing. That was a great atmosphere of music, like everything from like Perry Como, Winifred Atwell, which nobody has heard of, but like people like Fats Domino, and where's this stuff come from? It's American, of course. All the really good stuff came from America, and so they all played piano. We used to mix ideas from jazz to basically it was like growing up like folk music.
Yeah,
That's how folk music
same
started.
with me. There was always music in my house on the radio, and we had a tape deck. Eventually, we had a TV. It was always music. I think
Yeah.
that's something we share, isn't it?
Oh,
there was music in
absolutely.
our house.
All the time.
My father used to play. They came from the East End of London, and he used to play in a band like when he was 17 or 18 years old, like a big band. But there was always music.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing I think that stayed with me. Music.
There was so much of it. I think we were really spoiled in a way.
Yeah, we were fortunate. But
Yeah.
But Roger, you never. So you said earlier that your dad and your brother, they were sort of. They were pretty territorial about the piano. Did you ever play in a band with your brother?
yeah, I can play a 12 bar in the key of C. That's it. But most guitar players like A and E. So most of the time, I have to get on the drums.
But
That's what's so interesting about Chuck Berry, because he got a lot of ideas from his piano player.
Right.
yeah,
Johnny Johnson.
from Johnny Johnson.
yeah. And
And never gave
when
him the
I
credit.
first heard Chuck Berry, I thought, why is he playing in B flat? That's sort of key piano players playing. You play E and B, and that was quite an interesting revelation to me.
But Colin went on. It's Colin, right? Your brother.
Yeah.
And he went into Mungo Jerry. But did you two were ever in a band together or no?
Yeah, Colin played on our first album. I played some tracks on Mungo Jerry's first album. And like I said earlier, Ray Dorset, the singer, we went to school together and we were in the same band. Like, when I was 17 years old, Ray was the lead singer.
What a great voice.
Yeah,
Really quite unique.
yeah, he
At
was.
the time as well.
He could play guitar. He was a pretty good. He was a very
cool.
talented lad, actually.
Great voice.
And Dave, excuse me, you actually formed the Kinks. It was you and Pete that put it together, and then Ray came along later on. A little while later on. Did you ask Ray to be part of it, or did he just sort of morph
What
into
happened
it?
is Ray went to art school. So I didn't. I got thrown out of school, fresh on the street, and I thought, music, that's it. I'm going. I was creeping back at nightclubs. I was too young to go in clubs. I was getting the back door, listening to bands like Sal Davies, and there were some great bands around.
Cyril Davis
Yeah.
and his rhythm and blues all-stars.
Alexis
What?
Corner.
Alexis Corner. I used to go see Cyril Davis and his rhythm and blues all-stars, the Marquee, Thursday nights, was it? I think.
Blimey, don't be detailed.
The piano player used to play with Jeff Beck's band as well. The drummer was Carlo Little, and I don't know, it's too early for me. I haven't had enough coffee yet.
But
Jeff Beck was a cool guy. It's funny, we hung out quite a lot, even before he was in the Yardbirds. But the thing is, we used to hang about in bars and clubs. We never played guitar together. Well, very rarely when we're drunk enough.
But Cyril Davis and Alexis Korn, I mean, those two guys were kind of responsible for breeding the Rolling Stones. Jack Bruce came through those, you know.
Absolutely.
Charlie Watts came through one of them. I mean, it was just Brian Jones, who you were friends with.
Brian was a lovely guy. We got on really well, because lots of reasons. We were both very sort of flamboyant. And of course, you have to remember in those days, it was a lot about fashion as well. Fashion and pop culture was starting, movies changing. They were actually making movies about working class Britain.
Yeah.
You know, up north in Manchester, there was a great film, if you ever think to watch it, called Saturday Night and Sunday Morning. It's about a Manchester kid, young man who worked on a lathe in a factory, about his life and his influences. Me and Ray loved it. They were bringing it, because it was really after the war, that war, it was the first time working class people really had a kind of voice, and people were listening and looking at the art and everything. So it was a really incredible time. There was so much you could do, and you could do anything. You know, when we had our first hit,
I still do.
I go down at Carnaby Street, before it was Carnaby Street, and I go in a hat shop, and if it's a funny woman's hat, I'd wear it. And the next week it'd be in a magazine.
Yeah.
And people would think, let's have fashion stars, just make it up. You know, I mean, same with music. You just make it up and see what happens.
Right. Piano player in Cyril Davies' band. Nicky Hopkins.
Nicky.
Big.
He actually played the Kinks.
Yeah, what a great
And
piano
the
player.
Beatles.
Yeah, it was
And
incredible.
he was wonderful, because he knew a lot of what I called American piano tricks. Like we had far triplets and things that the English piano players weren't doing, or I hadn't heard of.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but about 2 minutes ago, you said that you and Ray liked this movie. So there was a time where you and Ray actually were on the same page about something.
We were on the same page about everything until a thing called music publishing happened. And we all got stories about that, I'm sure.
Yes, I want you to know that every musician at some time or another, if he wrote something or played something, got screwed.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it comes with the territory. It's good, though, that the young musicians today are a lot shrewder. And I've got a son, Russell, who's been writing film music and film for TV. I bet you that the younger players are much more savvy with business, and obviously the internet and the business. But we were pretty green.
I mean, I didn't get into playing music, you know, for money. You work in a bank, that's where they keep it. Like I said, but the first job I got with Savoy Brown, I was, 20 or 21, I think. I mean, I'm earning like 150 quid a week. I was pretty good at what I did as a commercial artist. And I gave it all up to earn £12.50. But I didn't get paid for the first week. By the second week...
It's playing drums. Sorry.
I used to dance too.
Hey!
But
It's interesting that what Lee Van Helm said then about when I play drums, I'm dancing.
Anyway, I'll go see the manager, Harry Simmons, and say, Harry, haven't got paid yet. He was Welsh, nice guy. He said, you haven't got paid yet, boyo? Oh, we'll see about that then. So about 2 weeks later, about 4 weeks into sort of being in Savoy Brown, I go up and see Harry. I say, hey, Harry, I haven't got paid yet. Oh, you haven't got paid yet, boyo? Oh, we'll see about that then. This goes on for about 6, 7, 8 weeks. And in the end, I say, Harry, I mean, I've got a wife and kid to keep and a day job that is looking a little dodgy at the moment because I'm not there half the time. He said, you haven't got paid yet, Boyle. We'll see about that. And I said, Harry, I would really like my £12.50. He said, oh. He gave it to me. I don't think I got the first 6 or 7 weeks worth. But you become a musician because you want to play music. It's something that you can't
You don't
let
think
go.
about it. You didn't think about money. It was similar with us when we first got together. We have a manager. So we met these 2 guys who were very upper class. They wanted to break into the music business, and they come from like wealthy families, and they wanted to invest their time in our money and our music. And one day we were in Denmark Street, Denmark Street, and he said, well, we got signed a contract for the publishing, and we're going to be your managers, and Robert gets 10%, and Grenville, the other manager, he gets 10%. And we've got a guy here called Larry Page, who was like a impresario, what do they call him?
Impresario.
A con man. No, sorry, like, joking. And I thought, so he wants 10% as well, so that's 30%, right? I could add up. Right, I didn't learn much at school, but I could add up. And then he said, we've got to pay our agent 10%. So, oh, okay, so that's 40%. And I said, and you go on the road and you have to pay for everything. All the expenses come off the top. So we get check for 20 quid.
I only had £12.50. Rolling in it, he was.
Well, as we move along here, so we know the story. We know about the razor blade taken to the amplifier. You don't still own that amplifier, do you? That you?
I don't know what happened. I don't know. I wish I'd kept it.
Yeah, that would be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for sure, on display.
Yeah, I think there is one similar one that's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Another thing these 2 gentlemen have in common, see, I told you I wasn't going to get to any of my notes here, although this is one of the things I did write down. Roger actually tried out, that's not the word I'm looking for, but yeah, well, you could say for the Jimi Hendrix Experience. Is that audition? Thank you. Is that true?
It's true. Once again, I borrowed Dad's car. Thanks, Dad. And there was a club just off Piccadilly Circus called something Bird. Anyway, I turn up and it's raining as usual, so we're all standing in line, and it's my older brother turned up and helped me take the drums down. And Jimmy comes up to me and starts talking about some songs he'd written the night before. I mean, I'd never met him before. But the reason I got the audition, because of Chaz Chandler, I was in a band for about, when I was 18, we didn't go out on the road, but I played drums in a band he was putting together. But I went downstairs, I was about 6 in line, and Jimmy had like a stack of Marshalls, and he was just, noodling doesn't cover it. He was playing some music that I've never ever heard, and I was trying to sort of play drums along to it. Yeah, and I couldn't hear it, but eventually he did a Chuck Berry song, and I went, ah! I latched onto that, and then he did a Bob Dylan song, and he did a slow song, like a Muddy Waters song. I think I came in 6th, but he was beautiful and very generous with his time. I actually got to jam with him later on at a club out in LA, and also there was a club in New York City called Steve Paul's Scene, and I sat up and played drums with him. And he was a beautiful man, apart from being an absolute genius. He really was special.
Very kind guy, wasn't he? Very kind bloke.
Yeah, he was really a cool guy.
And how did you meet him, Dave?
You know, I met him later, during all the things like Thank You Lucky Stars on TV shows, and everybody used to hang out in that. And he paid me the Kinks a great compliment, and cause he didn't talk a lot really, he was a quiet man, really polite guy. And he always said that he thought that You Really Got Me was a landmark record. And
It was, wasn't it?
It was not strange, but interesting that the guy who actually became Jimmy's drummer lived in my house for a while. A guy called Mitch Mitchell.
Yeah, Mitch was great.
Mitch Mitchell, yeah, great. And Mitch I used to go away on tour, and he was a session guy at the time before, and he was Hendrix. And he used to keep pigeons under the bed. It must be an East London thing, because I think he came from East London. All these Cockneys have a thing about keeping pigeons in the yard, I don't know why. But he kept them under the bed, and he came back and there's pigeon shit everywhere. So I threw him out. I said, Mitch, I've had enough, you've got to leave. And about 4 weeks later, I realised he joined Jimi Hendrix Experience. So good luck to it. It was great. He was quite unique player.
Yeah, he was an incredible drummer, and I think Jimmy made the right choice. I mean, Mitch played stuff that us mere mortals that are drummers couldn't even thought about. Mitch was special, and as was Jimi Hendrix. I mean, I don't think anybody heard guitar until Jimmy came along.
No,
he changed the world.
One-off, yeah.
And then Roger, so Savoy Brown to Foghat. Tell us about how that all developed, and obviously that classic guitar boogie woogie sound and everything that you guys have just developed and built upon all these years later.
Well, after I started getting £12.50, actually playing in Savoy Brown was an incredible experience. What was interesting about it was we were actually writing, or our singer, Chris Jordan, and our guitar player, Kim Simmons, were actually writing like new blues songs. We weren't really like trying to copy American blues artists. I think like Dave said earlier, we'd listen to it and then fuck it up. But our fuck up was the way we were playing it. And it was really exciting because when I go in the studio, it was like nobody said play this, play that. I could play what I want. And that was the exciting thing for me. And it was a big learning experience. There was one time I've been in the band about a year, and we were doing this a Little Milton song called If Grits Ain't Groceries, Eggs Ain't Poultry, Mona Lisa Was a Man. And they sat me down, Mike Vernon was our producer, sat me down in the studio, and I'm surrounded by a horn section. There was like 12 horns, saxes, trumpets, trombones. I'd never played with it. And they're all warming up, they're all jazzers. They're old, like in their 40s or something. So I'm like 20, 21, and I'm sitting in the middle of all these professional musicians. They've all got their charts written out. I knew the song, so it wasn't really bad. So Mike Vernon, our producer, says, go. So I count the song off and play it. And they said, all right, do it again. Did it again. And they kept the first tape. And then afterwards, a bunch of these guys came over to me and say, "You're really good. Our usual drummer, we can't hear him." Bang, bang. So that was it. Yeah, it was great. It was a lot of fun.
That was funny. In those early days of recording, is that in England, that's why the recording techniques were very different in England. I don't think engineers really knew how to record bass and drums. Guitar was all right because it's one mic and see what happens. But drums, you couldn't hear them. And I met a great drummer who was on the session circuit that day, like from like 60 onwards. I think he played on so many records. He said, "How'd you get that drum sound?" And he said, "I just kicked the shit out of it because no one can hear it normally." So I think, and a guy called Bobby Graham, his name was. But that's really different.
A lot of engineers didn't at the time understand that the drums are in fact an acoustic instrument. So it's the room that actually sort of makes the drum, as long as you can tune them and you know what you're doing, the room gives the drums their sound. Like and if you're playing a guitar or violin or any instrument in a beautiful room, like you can hear them.
For instance, you have really grand acoustics.
Yeah,
Well,
acoustics.
No, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Well, and then in the mid-'70s, you guys built your own studio, which is still going, if I'm... Conk.
We had a studio, we started a studio in 1971, I think, simply because it was bloody expensive to record anywhere before, all the digital processing and everything, which now you can do it in your bedroom.
It's true.
Yeah. And we thought, we get our own studio, we got a little building, an old building in Hornsey, in North London, and we just gradually bought it up through the early part of the 70s. Mm-hmm. And what Roger was saying about acoustics, we had slatted wooden walls and wood floors, and like you get in there and hit the snare and hear it. Wow!
Yeah, we like wood. We like wood.
So we could experiment with recording a lot more, which was, all the years before that was like, I would stick them in the studio, turn the mic on, and put the green light on, and get the next light in. I mean, it's really like people didn't know how to record rock and roll or modern music, whatever they call it. So we were part of an experiment, really.
Yeah, again, I was fortunate, I think, when I was doing the early stuff with Savoy Brown and later on, I worked with an engineer called Roy Thomas Baker later, but he was like that. He understood that the room or the acoustics of the room were important, and he would put mics all over the place. I think I had 2 overheads and 1 bass drum mic, and there were microphones around the room. And that he was a great. He went on to become very famous. We recorded just about everybody.
Yeah.
The list is that long.
Yeah, Queen and the Cars.
Right.
Yeah. And Conk is still going today, correct?
Yeah, it's still.
So how does that work? What's your role in it?
I don't go there anymore. I spend a lot of time in America now, and I tour a lot.
Right.
And me and Ray are getting on well together, but it's kind of like a really turned into Ray's project.
Right.
But like I was saying, you couldn't record anything anywhere now. Like you can record in your bedroom 48 tracks of digital. And with the right mics, good mics, you get decent sound anyway from a bedroom mattress. And
If you get tired,
you sleep on it and record with it. I was thinking of an upright mattress on the wall, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, they talked about all the music coming from America, but yeah, actually the 3 of us we're neighbors. We both live in New Jersey.
Well, I spent a lot of time.
Yeah, you spend a lot of time. Right? You split. I know you don't. Right? And Roger is on just a little east over on Long Island.
How you doing?
How many years it took to get there?
Not long.
No, I like New York. New York's great. We can get to the city in 10 minutes, jump in the car,
New York City, great city, isn't it?
Yeah. Mad, but good.
Well, we don't have enough time to cover collectively over 100 years of musical output, so what...
It feels like 100, but it's...
And I have not touched any of these notes because I didn't need to, because I knew that you two were going to just run with it and have some fun, which is what I feel we've been having, and hope you folks agree. you know, by no means is this nostalgia here. These guys are still, you know, working musicians right now. They're keeping extremely busy. Dave, let me start with you. Hang on. Now, this just came out. This is, if you could see this is David. It is Davis.
Davies.
Well, they say Davies in America,
Don't fuck it up. It's Davies.
So use it.
You don't use it as, so you, okay, all right, so Dave Davies, decade. And this basically is a collection of music. This was a lost album. That
The last album
your sons.
I recorded demos in Kinks studios.
There's a handsome bastard, isn't it?
Yeah, we dug literally or retrieved these old recordings that my son Simon and Martin helped pull compilation together.
Yeah,
People seem to like it because it's got that vibe and tone of 70s studios.
Did you direct them to go find it, or were they just going
Well,
through?
they kind of put tape together a period of time, and I was going to produce the album. I sat and I listened to it, and I thought, oh, not that, you know. And I was quite overwhelmed with the idea of doing it. And Simon, my son Simon, said, I'll do it. And he did a great job trying to keep the essence of the original sounds, but add in a bit of technology to it, and you know, very happy with it.
And I mean, and while this is going back and digging through archives, though, you have been very prolific.
But I
the last couple
record
of
all the
years.
time, and I'm touring this year as well. I'm touring back east, New York, Chicago. I love playing great audiences. New York and Chicago have always been great Kinks territories.
Oh yeah,
audiences.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And Roger, as I mentioned earlier, not only Foghat, but Earl and the Agitator, so he's kind of, you know, walking a little bit of a line here, but a busy year ahead for you guys. And there's a book in the works you were explaining to me backstage. And you guys speak to Dave. Dave wrote Dave did an autobiography.
Actually, we have a studio in DeLand, Florida. It's in the middle of nowhere, like 10 acres. You know, we annoy the birds and the alligators and the deer. We've made like a number of albums there. We finished the Agitators album there, and in Nashville we did some work with our producer Tom Hambridge, who actually plays with Buddy Guy. And Scott Holt is our lead singer. Well, actually what happened was Scott and I became friends a number of years back, and we were looking for we were trying to write some new material for our new album, which is out, Under the Influence it's called. And we ended up with about 15 songs left over. And so we said, what do we do with these? And like typical musicians, we go, I don't know. So we put a record out. We have our own record label as well. You know, if it's a hit, it probably sold about 300. It's not like the old days, is it?
Oh no, but you can, because of the internet, you can, you know, survive selling music, and then you gotta have new music. It's like when I do live shows, I always try to include something I'm doing now that I've written recently to keep it alive. Otherwise, you know, obviously tours like this are amazing. I've never been on a boat trip, a cruise ship playing before, and it's fun. But I have a bit of a love-hate thing with this nostalgia trip, because I think for a musician or any creative person, it's very important to do new stuff. That's why I like painting, because you can just do it. No consequence, just do it. Music should be like that. It shouldn't all be, you know.
Well, so let's just get it on the table then, because I think it's the question that sort of just looms in the air and has been looming in the air for a couple of years now.
No.
No. You don't want, well, you know, I mean, yeah. What's the? No, he's not telling me to do the questions. He's telling you to get back with the Kinks. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, man.
What is that? What is the holdup? So what's the latest? Ray recently said that he did get you and Mick in the studio to cut some tracks. I don't know if you were all there together.
No, it was, they got Dave and Mick in the pub.
In the
near
pub.
the studio. It's close, right?
Oh, that's actually good, because if you can get on at a pub.
No, we were promoting the re-release of Village Green in UK.
Right. The 50th anniversary.
In June.
It was last year.
And we were talking, me and Rob had a few songs lying around for a long time, you know, songs that never quite get finished, but always there. Yeah. And so we're talking about it. So I'll go back and I'll see Ray for a few weeks and come back to her and I'll do this tour for her. We'll try to do something, I think. It's not a promise.
It would be nice one more time. I know Pete's no longer with us. Sadly, we lost Jim last year too, who had, but hopefully differences or whatever can be put aside, strategy can be put in place, and you can go forward and at least do a couple of shows. And
Yeah, we'll see.
and Roger, I know it's tough not to have the original guys with you and stuff, but you've carried the torch and you've bulldozed it forward, and you guys still play to great audiences around the country, year in and year out.
I'm gonna roll till I'm old and roll till I drop. I mean, it's a little too late to change horses in the middle of this stream.
Yeah, it's that old-fashioned thing, but music doesn't kind of keep you young, really. I know it's such a cliche, but it's so true. You know, if I had like more than like 3 or 4 months off, I start thinking, got aches and pains, my knees hurt me. I don't feel so good. And you go back on the road, and it's so tiring and exhausting, but it's something about music that keeps you young at heart. What's that saying?
Well, we're very fortunate that you're still doing it. I know you had a major health scare in 2004, and you battled back from it, and had to relearn the guitar and everything to a certain extent. And
Well, yeah, it's life's shit sometimes.
it is.
But you got to keep smiling, you know. I remember a photographer, I think, what's his name? I can't remember. In the early days, he said, if you feel shit and you don't feel great and you don't want to have your picture taken, smile.
Heart is breaking.
Absolutely. And also, a thing I was playing one night and I had to use a new drummer. And I only had like a few hours to routine, and he knew some of the songs. And I thought, oh, thank God, it's not going to work. But we had to do it anyway. And I said to him, he was, I forget his name,
Jim Marshall?
No, played with the Nick Cave's band. Lavanos, yeah? I said his name wrong. What is it, babe? Jim Slavanos, right? Great.
Jimmy.
And then we had really rough rehearsals. I'd do it. And before the show, I said to him, look, if you fuck up, just turn around and smile. And I said, for God's sake, Jimmy, just don't take it seriously. You know what it's like. And he said, Dave, there's no chance of that. And anyway, we got on stage, and it was a good night, actually. And afterwards, the promoter came up to me and said, you guys were having the ball up. He was smiling. We were fucking up a lot.
And you put that to work last night when the wind was blowing your music sheets over and stuff. You just kept smiling throughout. And
have you played on deck yet?
No, Foghat takes the stage on the deck, I think 12:45.
12:45. And we're counting it down now. So I'm going to go back again because I always kind of find this interesting, you know. So we're talking about influences. We're talking about this music scene in London developing and stuff. And all of a sudden there's this band that just sort of explodes and really just ignites everything and sends everything that you guys are doing over to us. And that was the Beatles. And I'm always curious, was it as manic over there as it was over here, and was there, and what was your take, the two of you, on them, and how did that affect you guys as musicians? Was there a rivalry? We've always heard.
Well, the thing is that when we started touring England, there was who was around. There was the Stones, obviously, the Beatles, us, and even before the Who became the Who.
Yeah.
They were high numbers.
High numbers, right.
First. And we used to play, the Kinks used to play everywhere, up and down, and we used to play quite a lot in the Cavern. Mm-hmm. I remember one day we were playing at the Cavern and it said, "The Kinks from Liverpool." I said, "Bloody hell, you're joking." There's
No, they come from North London.
Yeah, North London, we're Southerners, you know. But the thing is, the music was very different. The music, Merseybeat sound was totally different from we called it R&B, whatever it was, scruffy kind of rock and roll in the South. And there were bands like the Hollies, which we became really good friends with.
Great band.
Oh, fabulous. Because I think they're probably one of the more musical, very, very talented guys. And they took us under their wing when we first toured.
Oh, okay.
And because they never knew what to do with the Kinks. And scruffy little kids, you know. And it was the first night of the tour we were doing, opening for like, the Hollies closed the first half and Dave Clark 5 when he was big. Right? So we got rehearsing in the afternoon and this guy came along to groom us, he worked with Billy Fury, and so he was hoping to come and groom us for the show. He said, "Dave, you stand up there, stand on your amp, and wiggle your ass." And I said, "Oh, come on, man." It was really pissing us off, and I could see Ray really getting angry. And all of a sudden, and all of a sudden, Graham Nash walks inside. He said, "Why don't you fucking leave me alone? All right." And he said, "We're not so bad." So bless Graham for that.
And Roger, Beatles, what was your take on them and stuff, and that whole scene going on there?
I never got to see them live. My girlfriend at the time went to see them, and all she did was cry and couldn't hear a thing. Though I did get to meet George one time.
Bless him.
Yeah, you're a big friend of George's. Yeah.
A beautiful man.
In the early days, yeah, but I didn't see him once they skyrocketed to Andromeda or
yeah.
But George was a really good musician. I think he was kind of underplayed.
Underrated, yeah.
Underrated.
Yeah. And Roger, how did you meet George?
When we first get Foghat together, the original publicist seemed to like the record and started getting us some gigs, and so I met George. I went down to the Warner Brothers offices in London, and George was there. Funny guy, and really cool guy, and that's how I met him.
I see why you sort of got into the life of Brian production, and you always had a
great sense of humour. And I met Ringo once. I was in an elevator, and Ringo was in there, and I said hello, and he said hello. That's my brush with greatness.
But Liverpool, it was, I loved Liverpool and Manchester because we grew up playing in all these clubs. Yeah. And it was a lot of fun. It was, but luckily, for us and for others, the bands were very, very, very different from each other. Mm-hmm. It's like they used to have nightmares of like, oh, Easy Beats and the Mersey Beats and the Mojos and the Hollies and nightmares all coming out and playing the same song. It wasn't like that. Everybody was very individualistic, and thank God.
And as we bring this session to an end, as I mentioned, Dave.
Oh no!
I know. Trust me.
No.
We got to do a gig. Not together.
Dave, you got dates in the spring, predominantly east of the Mississippi. Foghat is on the road as well. Anything else that you guys want to quickly mention that's got going on?
So yeah, we're going to be touring all over the place. Go to foghat.com. We'll also be doing a bunch of dates with the Agitators. And we may even join them together. Actually, sometimes I open up for Foghat with the Agitators, and sometimes I even play with 3 bands. I play with the Agitators, then I get up and join Savoy Brown for a couple of songs, and then I do the Foghat thing. Careful what you wish for.
And it's wonderful to see original members in bands.
If you don't get enough of your Foghat fix on stage or on vinyl, CD, digital, whatever, there's Foghat wine to set the mood, and you can get your Foghat. You know what that is? I was just given one. Thank you so much. Dave, do you have a line of these?
I don't know what that is. Condoms.
It's got a 3-minute warranty.
50 years ago.
And Dave, for you, Dave, outside of the tour, what else do you have going on this year?
Well, I'm finishing on some recording with my brother, hopefully. And I've got this new album out. I'm working on new songs, and I'll be touring solo for a good part of this year. But let's hope we can do something with the Kinks. We're re-releasing 50 years of Arthur this year, which will be out November. So luckily, there's a lot going on.
Well, that is a good thing, and these guys are not done yet. So at 3 o'clock, well, I'm sorry. Let me do in order. At 12:45, Roger and Foghat on the deck stage. At 3 o'clock, right here on this stage, it'll be Davies. I apologize for the Davis. I cannot thank the both of these guys enough. From the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and the Kinks, Dave Davies.
That was awesome.
And from Foghat in a band that needs to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Roger Earl. And so much for these notes, never got to them. Thank you all very much. Stick around, Kansas is coming up in about 5 or 10 minutes, and Roger Daltrey at 7:45 in Studio B. Thank you both very, very much.